I didn't even want to go on that trip, which is probably why I remember every detail so clearly, like my mind was trying to warn me before it happened. But I ignored it anyway because everyone else was excited, and I didn't want to be the only one left behind during spring break. So I told myself it would be fine. Just 4 days at a quiet beach house outside the city. Nothing crazy, nothing dangerous. Just rest, music, and the ocean. But the moment we arrived, something already felt off in a way I couldn't explain. Like we had stepped into a place that wasn't meant to notice us yet, but eventually would. And I think it noticed me first. The house was at the far end of a narrow dirt road, past a cluster of abandoned-looking properties that no one seemed to own anymore. Not all of them facing the ocean like they were waiting for something to come back. And ours was the last one, slightly elevated on wooden stilts, with wide windows and a wraparound deck that creaked even when there was no wind, and the ocean itself didn't sound right. It wasn't loud or crashing like you'd expect. It was quieter, like something breathing slowly in the distance. Inside, everything looked normal at first. Clean, modern, almost too prepared for us. Like someone had known we were coming and arranged everything just right. 4 bedrooms, 1 for each of us. Though there were only 3 of us who actually stayed overnight, since one friend left early the first evening, after claiming she forgot something important. But the weird thing is, she never told us what it was, and when we tried to call her later, she didn't pick up. Not once for the rest of the trip. That first night, nothing happened. At least nothing obvious. We unpacked, laughed, took pictures, played music too loudly, and tried to make the place feel like ours. But every now and then, I'd notice small things that didn't match up. Like the way the hallway seemed longer when I walked alone than when we were all together. Or how one of the bedroom doors was always slightly open, no matter how many times we closed it, just a few inches. Like someone had pushed it from the inside. I didn't say anything at first, because it sounded stupid, even in my head, and I didn't want to ruin the mood, so I just kept noticing things quietly, storing them away, telling myself I was just tired from the drive. The second day was when the rules started. Not written anywhere, not spoken out loud. Just things we all somehow understood without discussing them. Like how none of us wanted to go down to the beach after sunset, even though that was supposed to be the best time. Or how we avoided looking out toward the water at night, especially through the large windows in the living room, because reflections didn't behave the way they should. I remember the first time I saw it clearly, or at least the first time I couldn't ignore it anymore. I was standing near the glass door leading to the deck, looking at my reflection because the inside lights were on and the outside was almost completely dark. And for a second, everything looked normal. Just me, tired, holding my phone. But then I noticed that my reflection blinked slightly later than I did. Not by much, just enough to feel wrong, like a delay. And when I leaned closer, it didn't lean in the same way. It just stood there for a fraction of a second longer before copying me. I stepped back immediately, and when I looked again, it was normal, perfectly synced, like nothing had happened. And that should have been the moment I told the others, but instead, I just laughed it off quietly to myself, because I didn't want it to become real. That night, we kept all the lights on without really agreeing to it, and we stayed in the living room longer than we needed to, talking about random things just to avoid going to bed. But eventually we did, and that's when I started hearing the footsteps. They were soft, almost polite, moving along the hallway outside my room, stopping briefly at each door like someone checking if we were asleep. And I told myself it was one of my friends getting water or using the bathroom. But then I realized something that made my chest tighten. The footsteps never came from inside any room. They always started in the hallway itself. I opened my door once, just a little, and the hallway was empty. Completely still, but the air felt occupied, like someone had just stepped out of view, and the door at the end of the hall, the one that never stayed closed, was slightly more open than usual, wide enough to show darkness inside that didn't look like a normal, unlit room. I closed my door and locked it, even though I hadn't felt the need to before, and I lay there listening, counting the seconds between the footsteps until they stopped completely. And when they did, the silence felt worse. The third day, we finally talked about it, but not directly. It came out in pieces. One of us mentioned the door that wouldn't stay shut. Another joked about hearing someone walking around at night, and I brought up the reflections, trying to make it sound less serious than it felt. But the moment I said it, both of them went quiet in a way that told me they had noticed something similar. And that was when the mood shifted completely, because it wasn't just in my head anymore. We decided to leave that evening, earlier than planned, but something kept delaying us. Small things at first, like misplaced keys, phones with suddenly low battery, even though they'd been charged, the car refusing to start on the first try. Nothing dramatic, just enough to slow us down and keep us there as the sun started to set. And that's when we made the mistake of looking at the ocean together. It was darker than it should have been for that time of evening. Not just the water, but the entire horizon. Like the line between sky and sea had blurred into something thicker, and for a moment none of us spoke, because we all felt it at the same time. That quiet, heavy awareness that something out there was aware of us too. I don't know who said it first, but one of us whispered that the waves weren't moving, and when I focused on them, I realized they weren't. Not really. They were there, shaped like waves, but they weren't progressing toward the shore, just shifting slightly in place, like a looping image. That was enough for us to turn away and rush back inside, locking the doors even though it felt pointless, because whatever was wrong wasn't outside the house. It was already part of it. The last night was the worst. Not because anything violent happened, but because everything became too clear. The footsteps returned, but this time they didn't stop at the doors. They paused directly outside mine and stayed there longer than before. And I could feel it, not hear it. Feel it, like someone standing just inches away, listening to my breathing. Then came the knock, soft, deliberate. 3 times I didn't respond. None of us did, because we all heard it, each in our own rooms, and we had already understood the rule without saying it. Don't answer, don't open, don't acknowledge. But the thing is, the knocking didn't stop. It just moved, from my door to the next, then the next, circling the hallway again and again. Patient, never louder, never aggressive, just consistent, like it knew eventually someone would break. At some point, I must have fallen asleep, or something close to it, because I remember waking up to complete silence, the kind that feels unnatural, and when I checked my phone, it was just before sunrise. We left immediately after that. No discussion, no second thoughts. We packed everything in minutes and drove away without looking back. And the moment we reached the main road, the car worked perfectly. No delays, no issues, like the place had simply let us go. We never spoke about it properly after that. Not altogether. Conversations would start, and then drift away like we were all avoiding something we didn't want to confirm. But a few weeks later, I noticed something that hasn't left me since. Sometimes when I catch my reflection in a dark screen or a window at night, there's still that slight delay, barely noticeable, but enough, and once, just once, I stayed still long enough to test it. I didn't move at all, just stared. And for a fraction of a second, my reflection moved anyway, like it thought I wouldn't notice this time. And the worst part isn't that it's still happening. It's that it feels like it's getting better at waiting for me to slip. Like it remembers me just as clearly as I remember that house, and it hasn't stopped checking if I'm ready to open the door.